In 1966, a team of scientists searching for a miracle drug unearthed something far more dangerous: the progenitor virus, a discovery that would spark a deadly race for biological power. Every single Resident Evil virus, from the T virus's mindless zombies to the C virus's monstrous chrysalids, exists because that one spark ignited decades of greed, ambition, and scientific hubris. Behind each outbreak lies a different vision of ultimate control, with names like Spencer, Birkin, and Wesker rewriting the limits of horror. The consequences have been global, plunging entire cities into chaos and threatening the future of humanity itself. But how did viruses meant for immortality, super soldiers, or pure dominance spin so wildly out of control? To truly understand, we need to go back to where biological warfare began, before anyone realized the real monsters were not just in the labs. In the late 1960s, Oswald Spencer saw more than just a miracle drug in the progenitor virus. He saw the blueprint for a new world. The virus itself came from a rare flower tucked away in the sun garden of West Africa, but its journey from botanical oddity to global menace started in the marble halls of European aristocracy. Spencer, with his grand designs and bottomless wallet, recruited two unlikely allies: Edward Ashford, a geneticist with a fondness for eugenics, and James Marcus, a virologist whose curiosity would soon outpace his caution. Together, they cracked open the secrets of progenitor in 1966, but found it far too lethal for their plans. Most who touched it died outright. The few survivors gained strength and intellect, but the price was steep and unpredictable. Rather than abandon the project, Spencer founded Umbrella Pharmaceuticals in 1968, hiding his ambitions behind a respectable corporate logo. Deep in the Arklay Mountains, the team built a mansion with laboratories beneath its polished floors, part stately home, part mad scientist's playground. Marcus, ever the overachiever, began splicing progenitor with leech DNA. His breakthrough came in 1978, the Tyrant virus, or T-virus for short. Where progenitor had been a sledgehammer, the T-virus was a scalpel, deadly but more precise. It could animate dead tissue, twist living hosts into monsters, and, with the right tweaks, even create super soldiers. The first zombies didn't shamble out of a graveyard, but from a petri dish in a gleaming underground lab. Umbrella's boardrooms buzzed with excitement. The T-virus wasn't just a weapon, it was a business model. Sell to the highest bidder, test on the unsuspecting, and keep the product line evolving. For Spencer and his circle, each new outbreak was a sales pitch. Marcus, meanwhile, found himself edged out by corporate rivals, but his creation had already changed the world. The era of accidental monsters was over. From here on, every disaster would be by design. By 1988, Umbrella's European branch was running out of patience with the American Tyrant project. Their solution wasn't another virus, but something stranger: a parasite, grown in secret at the 6th European lab. The NE-alpha, as it would be called, didn't just infect its host. It moved in, took over, and rewired the nervous system from the inside out. Unlike the T-virus, which turned test subjects into mindless brutes, NE-alpha was built to bring brains to the brawn. Its brain-like mass, bristling with bioluminescent tentacles, was designed to interface directly with the host's spinal cord and brainstem, hijacking control while leaving the muscles and regenerative systems untouched. The parasite's first real test came when Umbrella's researchers paired it with a T-103 Tyrant. The process was surgical, literally. NE-alpha was injected into the Tyrant's spinal column, where it quickly grew, destroyed the host's frontal lobe, and established itself as the new command center. The result? Nemesis T-type. This was no shambler. The parasite's secretion supercharged the Tyrant's cell regeneration, letting it heal from wounds that would drop lesser BOWs. If the host body took too much damage, NE-alpha could even detach and seek a new one, transferring itself through a grotesque tentacle-assisted process. What set Nemesis apart wasn't just its resilience, but its tactical mind. Orders could be programmed directly into the parasite, allowing Nemesis to identify priority targets, adapt to changing threats, and even learn from failed hunts. In Raccoon City, this meant relentless pursuit of STARS. Nemesis didn't just follow, it hunted, improvising weapons and tactics as needed. The parasite's ability to breed inside a host and even implant offspring into new victims hinted at a future where control was viral, not just viral in the old sense. For Umbrella and E-alpha proved that the age of mindless monsters was over. The next generation of BOWs would be predators, thinking, learning, and nearly impossible to stop. William Birkin's pursuit of the perfect bioweapon led him far beyond the limits of the T-virus. In 1988, deep beneath the Arklay labs, Birkin discovered a viral anomaly incubating in Lisa Trevor, a subject who had survived years of failed experiments. The result was the G virus, a pathogen that didn't just reanimate flesh, but rewrote it from the inside out. G virus infection triggered a relentless cycle of regeneration and mutation. When Birkin injected himself to escape assassination, his body twisted through 5 grotesque stages, G1 through G5, each more monstrous than the last. The virus pushed his cells into overdrive, spawning new organs, bone spikes, even a signature eyeball that tracked his prey. G hosts bred by implanting embryos into living humans, but only blood relatives could survive the transformation. Everyone else became raw material for the next mutation. Where Birkin's G virus unleashed chaos, Alexia Ashford's T. veronica was all about control. At just 10 years old, Alexia isolated an ancient virus in queen ant genes and spliced it with progenitor. She added plant DNA for resilience, then put herself on ice in the Antarctic lab, 15 years of cryogenic sleep to let the virus and her body adapt. When she finally awoke, Alexia emerged with power that bordered on the mythic. Her blood could ignite on contact with air. She commanded swarms of insectoid drones as extensions of her will, and her mutated form fused elegance with horror. Petals, vines, and thorns all woven into a living crown. Unlike Birkin's mindless rampage, Alexia ruled her viral creations like a queen, directing them with a single thought. Both viruses set the stage for a new era of bioweapon design, one chasing brute evolutionary force, the other aiming for a hierarchy of perfect control. Birkin's legacy was the unstoppable G mutant, a creature that could survive anything except its own runaway biology. Alexia's was the T. veronica drone loyal to the end, unless its queen fell. From these rival visions came a wave of hybridization, as future researchers tried to harness the best of both. Regeneration without madness, power with obedience. The age of simple zombies was over. Now monsters would be bred to rule, or to serve. Beneath the glassy surface of the Mediterranean, a new kind of bioweapon was taking shape. The T-Abyss virus began in the darkest reaches of the Kermadec Trench, where researchers discovered a natural pathogen thriving among hadopelagic fish at depths of over 9,000 meters. This virus, adapted to pressure and cold that would crush most life, could turn sluggish deep-sea creatures into swift, aggressive predators. When Tricell's lab spliced it with T-virus genes, the result was T-Abyss, a hybrid that could infect almost anything, but with a catch. Outside of marine hosts, it killed 99% of subjects almost instantly. Only the most resilient adapted, and those that did became something else entirely. The Queen Dido incident made T-Abyss infamous. In 2005, the luxury cruise liner sank after a catastrophic outbreak, taking its viral cargo to the seafloor. The ship's remains became a breeding ground for new forms. Bodies bloated and pale, jaws warped into fluid-siphoning appendages, and in some cases, entire sections of the mouth replaced by flexible, tentacled maws. The virus didn't just kill, it liquefied tissue, reshaped bone, and demanded constant hydration, leaving infected hosts desperate for water to replace what the virus consumed. Some mutated into the ooze, creatures that could squeeze through vents and cracks, while others grew carapaces and gills, moving through flooded corridors with uncanny speed. Meanwhile, T-Phobos was being refined for a different arena. Alex Wesker's experiments on Sane Island in 2011 aimed to weaponize fear itself. T-Phobos stayed dormant until its host's stress hormones spiked. Panic, terror, or the threat of death flipped the switch. Most subjects, overwhelmed by fear, mutated violently or died within minutes. Survivors like Claire Redfield endured only because they managed to keep panic at bay, their bracelets shifting from green to orange, then flashing red as the virus stirred. Failed subjects became the afflicted. Bodies twisted by necrosis, skins split and swollen, but still driven by a kind of desperate aggression. Some resisted longer, their minds fraying as tumors grew and laughter turned to screams, until even the strongest will snapped. On Sane Island, the line between victim and weapon blurred and the virus waited, silent, patient, inside anyone who might one day be afraid enough to set it free. In 2004, rural Spain became the proving ground for a new kind of bioweapon. Las Plagas didn't just kill its hosts, it rewired them, turning ordinary villagers into ganados who could wield weapons, follow orders, and even set traps. At the top of this hierarchy stood Osmond Sadler, whose dominant strain parasite gave him total command. Unlike the mindless zombies of Raccoon City, these hosts retained their skills and memories, but their will belonged to Sadler. Across the sea, a new threat was taking shape. In 2009, Albert Wesker launched his Ouroboros project, aiming not for control but for extinction. Ouroboros killed anyone without the right genetics, consuming the unworthy in writhing black tentacles. Those who survived would become the next step in human evolution, at least in Wesker's eyes. His plan for global saturation ended in a volcanic showdown, but the message was clear. Bioweapons had moved from local outbreaks to threats that could wipe out humanity or remake it entirely. In 2012, the world watched as bioterrorism shed its last restraints. Carla Radams, once a loyal researcher, unleashed the C virus, an engineered nightmare built from the genetic blueprints of T. veronica and G virus. Her vendetta against Derek C. Simmons and the Shadowy family drove Neo Umbrella's campaign of chaos, starting with a single missile over Tall Oaks. The C virus didn't just create zombies, it produced Javo, soldiers who kept their minds, spoke, strategized, and mutated new weapons on the fly. In Edonia, entire battalions transformed mid-battle, sprouting chrysalids that hatched into monsters with wings, armor, or acid-spitting jaws. No accidental outbreak. Every infection was a deliberate act, each mutation a test of control. At the same time, a different kind of contagion was taking root in rural Europe. The mold, source of the megamycete, answered to no corporation. Miranda, still grieving her daughter, found in its mycelium a way to preserve memory and rewrite identity. The E001 program, led by the Connections, produced Eveline, a bioweapon disguised as a child, able to command minds and warp flesh with a thought. The mold didn't need to spread by bite or bullet. It seeped through walls, dreams, and bloodlines, building a hive mind that outlived its hosts. In the end, human will became just another substrate. Fuel for a network that remembered every death, every fear, every betrayal. The age of viruses ended not with a cure, but with the loss of agency itself. In 1998, the T-virus outbreak in Raccoon City revealed just how far weaponized virology had advanced since Umbrella's founding in 1968. Over 5 decades, documented evidence shows a steady escalation, from the progenitor virus to the T and G strains to specialized threats like T. veronica, T. abyss, and Phobos. Each new virus brought unique dangers: zombies, mutants, mind control, and even global threats like Ouroboros and the mold. Yet, despite thousands of pages of corporate records and field reports, many details remain classified, including the full scope of bioweapon dispersal and the fate of certain research teams. Today, international agencies still monitor biothreats tied to these viruses, as confirmed by 2012 UN resolutions and ongoing investigations. What started as a single discovery in Africa has led to a global, unresolved legacy. The documents are clear. The story of Resident Evil's viruses is one of ambition, disaster, and the ongoing challenge of keeping humanity one step ahead.